for watching. The Stillwater Mine project in Marathon has been brought to a standstill. Residents and politicians in the community responded with disbelief on Wednesday to an announcement that shareholders have rejected the new scope of the platinum and copper mine planned 6 kilometers from their town. John Thompson has the top story.
Silence spread over the crowd gathered at the Marathon Theatre when the confirmation appeared on the screen that the mine wouldn't be going ahead. It read simply, "The project will not provide an acceptable level of return to its shareholders." Stillwater Vice President Clark Gilbert says the announcement that Stillwater and Mitsubishi's shareholders won't continue to financially support a new mine means he'll have to refocus.
I think we're fairly close. I think if we can get, we got a fairly extensive suite of these opportunities that we're looking at, and all we need is a few of them to hit, and I think we can get us over the line.
The company remains committed to completing its feasibility study, but concerns such as the projected concentration of copper and palladium, as well as drops in international markets, have halted existing plans. Gilbert remains optimistic, suggesting a new plan could be in place within the next 3 years.
Some of these projects that we're looking on could have fairly extensive feasibility level activities associated with them. So depending on which ones look positive, and there's a number of stages that we'd have to go through, from scoping level, which is where we're at right now, to a pre-feasibility, to maybe even a feasibility. And every time you touch that next stage, it's almost like an order of magnitude more work that you got to do.
The public reaction to the announcement was dire, as attendees offered to help out in any way they could.
This project is needed. It's needed for Northwestern Ontario. It's needed for Marathon. We've had several mines closed. We have one in Marathon, 2 in Manitowoc, 1 north of Scriber. So we really need this investment. So we've got to push to make sure that it goes through when we see a new mine in this area.
The pulp mill's down, and the mines they'll eventually run out, I suspect, and David Bell's closing down. So from an economic point of view, we need this project badly.
Mayor Rick Dumas says the transportation and energy infrastructure on the proposed site are ideal, and he's taking the company's word as he sees Marathon's glass half full.
They have to address the concerns risen by the overall change in scope of the project. But I believe when they made the comment that Mitsubishi and as well as Stillwater Canada fully support the project and want to move forward and with the new changes in scope of the feasibility study, we have to work with them, and we continue to focus on the positives of the project because we believe that they're going to still move forward and develop this project here in Marathon.
The mine's plans have been laid out 40 years into the future. Even if the opportunities transpire as Stillwater hopes, that will be extended a few years yet. John Thompson, TBT News.
The Chief and Council of the Mishkegogumang First Nation near Pickle Lake have declared a state of emergency. This comes following a tragic house fire last month, which took the lives of 2 adults and 2 young children. The Anishinaabe Nation says the reserve needs federal and provincial support as the residents struggle to cope with the aftershock of the tragedy. NAN officials say the widespread trauma has been compounded by a persistent shortage of services and resources. Well, people in Greenstone are happy to have a new skills center being built at the airport in Geraldton, but the Municipal Council is saying it never should have happened like this. Greenstone Council is withdrawing its reps from the Geraldton Community Forest Board after it emerged that Council had no knowledge nor approval of the $3.5 million facility that was announced in February. The Community Forest, which will be a principal tenant of the Skills Center, signed the agreement with City Manager Roy Sinclair, who was representing the city on its board. Time constrictions for both autumn construction and government funding deadlines were cited as reasons the process sidestepped Council. The councillor for Long Lac calls the building a great asset, but says she understands Sinclair regrets his decision and objects to how the procedure unfolded.
Nobody has the right to give permission to build a building on municipal property, especially the airport, without first an agreement between the municipality and the people that are building it. No agreement ever came to council.
While he is no longer representing the municipality with Geraldton Community Forest, Sinclair will continue to sit on its board as a private citizen. The proposed wind farm on the Nor'Wester Mountain Range has hit another hurdle. Lawyers on behalf of Fort William First Nation are calling on the province to prohibit Horizon Wind from accessing and developing on treaty lands. The First Nation has raised numerous concerns over the project, including protection of land and the Loch Lomond watershed. Court documents allege the Crown has also failed its obligation to consult Fort William on the development. Dennis Ward has the latest.
The Big Thunder Wind Park is the focus of new court challenges. The The Fort William First Nation has filed notice of applications for judicial review against 2 provincial ministries. The First Nation is calling on the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to quash the Horizon Wind lease of treaty lands. Fort William also says Municipal Affairs has refused to consult with and protect treaty and Aboriginal rights. The First Nation also has some requests of the Ministry of the Environment. Fort William is looking to stop the MOE from approving Horizon's renewable energy application until the ministry has fulfilled its constitutional obligations to consult. Horizon contends it has consulted Fort William First Nation and public meetings were held. Those were enough to satisfy the MOE, which deemed the company's REA complete nearly 1 year ago. But Fort William believes it is the sole responsibility of the province to do the consulting, something the MOE says it has done and continues to do. Horizon spokesperson Kathleen McKenzie doesn't feel the latest actions by Fort William will set the project back. She says the company is eager to begin construction once it receives the final approval. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
A shuffle on the North Shore of Lake Superior this week is bringing familiar faces to new positions in managing Scriber and Terrace Bay. Scriber Chief Administrative Officer Jonathan Hall moved from Scriber down the road to the same position in Terrace Bay. Hall takes the helm as Terrace Bay attempts to expand its housing stock and attract commercial tourist investment at the same time as a January agreement with the Adida Birla mill cuts $500,000 from the town's tax base.
Some big challenges this year with the mill reassessment. It's no secret the mill is reassessed at a lower value, causing Terrace Bay to come in at lower tax revenue. So we've got to figure out a way to have the least amount of impact on services and ratepayers while still running the municipality.
Filling the gap Hall left behind, Scriber Mayor Don MacArthur has stepped down to take the top job in the town's administration. MacArthur has served 7 of the last 10 years as Scriber's mayor. First-time councillor Mark Figolomini will serve as mayor until municipal elections in the fall, when he intends to run for re-election. Both MacArthur and Figolomini identified downtown revitalization as a priority to improve the city's image. The Nuclear Waste Management Organization has unveiled 2 locations near Scriber this week that may serve as the final resting place for Canada's nuclear waste. The agency held an open house in the community this week. Jonathan Wilson has the story.
In April, the NWMO will conduct aerial and ground surveys of the area bordering the Gravel River Conservation Reserve and the logged area at the end of Crossman Road. 3.5 years into what the organization calls the Learn More process, it's prepared to start taking a closer look at Scriber's geology. The North Shore town has entered Phase 2 of Step 3 in the 9-step process, a point at which nearby Pays Plat First Nation will also be engaged. NWMO spokesperson Pat Dalsetti says at this stage it's no more likely that nuclear waste will be buried near Scriber than any of the other 15 municipalities and First Nations engaged in different stages of the process.
Overall, I think the level of engagement has been quite good. We also had our mobile transportation exhibit here in the summer. We had about 150 people attend that. And the attendance at the open houses has been good. We've been pleased with it. I think the attitude of people in the community is they understand that it's all the community is doing is learning, so let's learn. And it'll be several years before anyone is asked to make a decision if Scriber even reaches that point.
Geologists will seek a 2 by 3 kilometer rock bed that will represent the safest option for nuclear waste burial. Former Scriber Mayor turned CAO Don MacArthur says as far as he knows, there aren't cottages or outfitters using the packages of land in question. He sees the NWMO visit as an opportunity to be certain the public's questions get answers.
Now that there's been 2 locations kind of identified for further study, I think people are very curious about those locations. That's one of the purposes of this open house, is so people can see them, address any concerns they may have about those locations. But I don't think the sentiment has changed very much, in so much as from the beginning it's been cautious. People ask a lot of questions, and that's where we're at right now, is learning more, and hopefully people are getting the answers that they want.
NWMO officials were in Ignace in February to announce 3 nearby areas under study. Nipigon, Wawa, Hornpain, and Blind River are also engaged in the process at more preliminary levels. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
The global mining industry's largest annual event wrapped up this week in Toronto, but there are no new developments to report regarding the Ring of Fire. Northern Development and Mines Minister Michael Gravel recently returned from the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada convention. He says the PDAC conference provided a great opportunity for him to meet with a number of mining companies and Aboriginal leaders. But ultimately, he says the only meaningful Ring of Fire discussions continue to take place between Frank Yakabuchi, the Ring of Fire point man for the province, and Bob Ray, the lead negotiator for the Matawa First Nation chiefs.
To say when that will be done. This is an important process that basically will be determined by the chiefs, and I'm, as I said, certainly getting a sense that we're getting closer to that opportunity to sign off on the agreement, but that will be ultimately determined when the chiefs are in a position to do that.
The boil water advisory issued for Kenora on March 2nd has now been underway for over a week. There were more than 120 breaks in the city's pipes over the month of February, including 9 in the week before the advisory was issued. A city release says despite the repair efforts, new breaks are appearing almost daily. Once Kenora officials complete the major repairs, the Northwestern Health Unit will begin the 3-day process of sending samples to Thunder Bay for testing. While Kenora contends with its water woes, the nearby village of Reddit is still raising funds to bring its municipal water system up to code. John Thompson reports.
Founded by CN Rail because of the quality of its water supply a century ago, the village of Reddit has been plunged into the biggest expense in its history to meet Ontario's municipal water laws. In 2000, tragedy struck Walkerton, Ontario, when 7 people died and half the population of 5,000 was sickened due to unfit drinking water. In response, the province passed the Safe Drinking Water Act in 2002. It imposes strict standards on municipal water systems, but no funding was put in place to support upgrades for towns like Reddit.
In Ontario, you turn on the tap, it had to be drinkable water right across the province. Unfortunately, as we know in the Northwest, oftentimes when they're making these laws, and it's a nice principle, but one of the pieces is not every community is an urban community.
Until 2008, Reddit resisted upgrading its system, which Martin admits has occasional E. coli problems at certain times of year.
I think actually we had a provincial order against us because we were saying, we're not doing this. And then we had to realize, hey, they're serious about this. They're going to make us cement our distribution line. So it had to get down to that where we had to decide to either close up our distribution line or treat the water. So, it was an interesting dance.
Through tax increases, but mostly through fish fries, spaghetti dinners, and music concerts, Reddit has since raised a 10% share of $500,000 needed for the project. Some of the equipment still needs to be purchased, but the province has agreed to pay 90% of the cost. Pending tapping into that funding flow, the 175 homes in Reddit could soon be certifiably back to the source.
One of the big things for Reddit, again, convincing people have been getting free water for all these years, and all of a sudden, hey, we're going to tax you on that water. So that was but the local residents have been really good. I mean, they get the bigger picture, and I mean, reluctantly, they would like to go back, but they don't think there's really anything wrong with the water, but they know what this is about.
The next challenge under high hydro rates, Martin says, will be whether Ontario can help support the system once the taps start running. John Thompson, TBT News.
When we come back, a Kenora crash video goes viral, but first a look at how Geraldton has kept its snowmobile trails alive in Ontario's ghost sledding region. Stay with us. 2 years after the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs eliminated its district from White River to Nipigon, the sporting Greenstone is bouncing back. The Geraldton Snow Club was once one of 10 sled associations that made up District 16, but it's now a blank spot on the OFSC's Trail Guide of Ontario. The club had fallen just short of its mandated quota of 50 permit sales in 2011. The provincial board then voted to shut out the district, and Geraldton and Longlock lost 200 kilometers of what was known as the Greenstone Loop. As this winter crests, the Snow Club has sold 150 permits. Michael LaFrance is the president of the Geraldton Club. He says after more than a decade of reception, the club is holding on tightly to the infrastructure.
It might still take us a couple of years, but with Premier Gold, if they're going to go ahead with their building of the mine here in Geraldton, that's definitely going to bring some people into our towns. And that's what we need. If we can get the sawmills in the area back and open, again, that'll bring people into our towns. Until then, I think we're going to maintain.
LaFrance added the cold and snow this winter have galvanized local interest in snowmobiling. Well, another terrifying highway incident in the Northwest was caught on video and has gone viral. The crash between two pickup trucks happened on Saturday along the highway bypass outside Kenora. The dashcam video also captures the dangers of distracted driving. Luckily, in this case, all three people involved suffered only minor bumps and bruises. But as Courtney Rutherford reports, the number of accidents caused by distracted driving continues to grow.
It's a common scene played out across northwestern Ontario. Thousands of motorists traveling down Highway 17 every single day until something like this happens.
We hit the brakes. If we hadn't, we would have ended up hitting his door and probably killing him. I was afraid that the car behind me was going to pile into the back of us, but when we everything calmed down, the cab was full of smoke from the the electrical shorting out and the airbags going off.
62-year-old Sioux Lookout resident Ralph Ireland and his wife Ifka were traveling back from Winnipeg at the time of the accident. According to a screenshot of the crash, it shows the driver that pulled out onto the highway was talking on his cell phone. He's since been charged with failure to yield. However, the Ontario Provincial Police are investigating the matter now that they have this video, and further charges could be laid.
It's just further information related to the incident. We would be speaking to witnesses who observed the collision the day of. We would be speaking to the two drivers that were involved in the collision, and now with that video recording, we'll be dealing with that as well.
In 2013, OPP responded to 78 fatal accidents caused by distracted driving in Ontario, and 4 of those were in northwestern Ontario. That means it's now in the #1 spot ahead of impaired driving, which caused 57 fatal collisions in Ontario and 2 in this region. Speeding came in third with 44 fatal collisions last year, including 1 in northwestern Ontario. Meanwhile, the number of distracted driving collisions reported by Northwest Region OPP have jumped from 609 to 670 in 2013. Impaired driving collisions dropped from 107 to 79, and speeding collisions rose from 267 to 409.
It would appear that people are simply not heeding the laws in terms of not driving and when you're distracted. And we're talking, people often, they think when we say distracted driving that we're simply talking about cell phones, texting and talking on cell phones, but really anything that draws your attention away from your main task, which is driving, that is distracted driving.
The numbers over the past year have prompted the OPP to ask for the public's help with their distracted driving campaign, which runs until March 14th. And the fines for being caught behind the wheel on your cell phone are going to jump from $155 to $280 on March 18th. As for Ralph Ireland, he said he was angry when he saw that the other driver was on a cell phone, and that he hopes this serves as a lesson about distracted driving. Courtney Rutherford, TPT News.
Well, after that incident and another similar case, the interest in dashboard cameras has escalated. Dash cams are already very popular overseas, and local stores are now reporting an increase in sales. But there are many things to consider before installing one. Phil Darlington explains.
Since the dash camera video of this accident near Kenora was released, OPP are now considering additional charges against the other driver. It's a similar case with this near tragedy near Nipigon back in January, as the dash cam video helped police identify the other driver. Dash cams are appearing more and more on area roads and highways, and police say there are both pros and cons to their use.
The video has assisted us for the drivers who weren't at fault. These videos could also, if you had a camera in your vehicle and you were the at-fault driver, we could with judicial process take that video and it could be used against you.
A lot of people think that a video is rock solid, ironclad, bulletproof, and it's absolute proof in anything. But as the police and people in the legal profession know, that evidence is only evidence when the judge says it's evidence.
It's also important to note that when buying a camera, there are some which have been deemed to be illegal. Cameras that obstruct the driver's view or which have a screen that is visible to the driver are some of the options that would make a camera illegal. And consumers should also know that having a dash cam will not benefit how much they pay for insurance.
Currently, right now, none of the insurance companies that we're aware of are offering discounts for having it in their vehicle. I think the result of having these will eliminate fraud or help eliminate fraud, and therefore can see a discounts, or sorry, not discounts, but reductions in insurance premiums.
Even still, the cameras are a useful tool that police and other users can testify are helpful in the case of an incident. Canadian Tire store owner Bruce Stone says they've sold a number of them since the 2 accident videos went viral, and he's gotten a few dash cams for himself.
It continuously records, and then the event of an event, you can take out the chip, you can load it in a computer, and you can share it or play it back. They are, if you're not at fault, they're a great thing to have.
Phil Darlington, TBT News.
A Treaty 3 First Nation now has high-speed internet thanks to the business initiative of its youth. When we return. Well, young people everywhere are leading the way in internet use, but in Dawes First Nation north of Kenora, the youth are turning their passion into provision and profit. The Nisashawan Youth Council is providing high-speed internet to their community as a business, purchasing a $30,000 tower and making their own contracts with service delivery companies. Last year at this time, only 4 of the 60 residences in the community had high-speed internet access. Under the Youth Council's for-profit business, 17 homes now have service. 25-year-old Youth Council President Chad Henry says the new business began with the demands of young people, most of whom were paying by the minute for online gaming.
Some houses were using like dial-up. Others were using rocket hubs, like cell phone data usage, and that was pretty expensive also. And that's what we did our prioritizing, what the community wanted, and it all fell down to high-speed internet, what the youth wanted, and that's what we strived for after that.
The Youth Council hopes to hire a full-time administrator and technician this year. Well, thank you for watching this evening. We'll see you again next time.